Jimmy Valentine by O. Henry. A guard came to the prison shoe shop where Jimmy Valentine was assiduously stitching uppers and escorted him to the front office. There the warden handed Jimmy his pardon, which had been signed that morning by the governor. Jimmy took it in a tired kind of way. He had served nearly 10 months of a 4-year sentence. He had expected to stay only about 3 months at the longest. When a man with as many friends on the outside as Jimmy Valentine had is received in the stir, it is hardly worthwhile to cut his hair. Now, Valentine, said the warden, you will go out in the morning. Brace up and make a man of yourself. You are not a bad fellow at heart. Stop cracking safes and live straight. Me, said Jimmy in surprise. Why, I never cracked a safe in my life. Oh no, laughed the warden. Of course not. Let's see now. How was it you happened to get sent up on that Springfield job? Was it because you wouldn't prove an alibi for fear of compromising somebody in extremely high-toned society? Or was it simply a case of mean old jury that had it in for you? Me, said Jimmy, still blankly virtuous. Why, warden? I never was in Springfield in my life. At 7:15 on the next morning, Jimmy stood in the warden's outer office. The clerk handed him a railroad ticket and the $5 bill, and Valentine was chronicled on the books, pardoned by governor. Jimmy headed straight for a restaurant. There he tasted the first sweet joys of liberty in the shape of a broiled chicken. He went to the cafe and shook hands with Mike, who was alone behind the bar. Sorry, we couldn't make it sooner, Jimmy, my boy, said Mike. But we had the protest from Springfield to buck against, and the governor nearly baked. Feeling all right? Fine, said Jimmy. Got my key? He got his key and went upstairs, unlocking the door of a room at the rear. There on the floor was still Ben Price's collar button that had been torn from that eminent detective's shirt band when they had overpowered Jimmy to arrest him. Pulling out from the wall a folding bed, Jimmy slid back a panel in the wall and dragged out a dust-covered suitcase. He opened this and gazed fondly at the finest set of burglar's tools in the East. In half an hour, Jimmy went downstairs and he carried his dusted and clean suitcase in his hand. A week after the release of Valentine, there was a neat job of safe burglary done in Richmond, Indiana. A scant $800 was all that was secured. 2 weeks after that, a patented improved burglar-proof safe in Logansport was opened like a cheese to the tune of $1,500. Then an old-fashioned bank safe in Jefferson City became active and threw out of its crater an eruption of banknotes amounting to $5,000. The losses were now high enough to bring the matter up into Ben Price's class of work. Ben Price investigated the scenes of the robberies and was heard to remark, That's Dandy Jim Valentine's autograph. He's got the only clamps that can do it. Yes, I guess I want. Mr. Valentine, he'll do his bit next time without any short time or clemency foolishness. Ben Price knew Jimmy's habits. Long jumps, quick getaways, no confederates, and a taste for good society had helped Mr. Valentine to become noted as a successful dodger of retribution. It was given out that Ben Price had taken up the trail of the elusive cracksman. One afternoon, Jimmy and his suitcase climbed out of the Milwaukee in Elmore. A young lady crossed the street, passed him at the corner, and entered a door over which was the sign, The Elmore Bank. Jimmy Valentine looked into her eyes, forgot what he was, and became another man. She lowered her eyes and colored slightly. Young men of Jimmy's styles and looks were scarce in Elmore. Jimmy collared a boy and began to question him about the town. Isn't that young lady Miss Polly Simpson? Asked Jimmy with specious guilt. No, said the boy. She's Annabel Adams. Her pa owns this bank. Jimmy went to the Planters Hotel, registered as waft dispenser, and engaged a room. He said to the clerk that he had come to Elmore to look for a location to go into business. How was the shoe business now in the town? Was there an opening? The clerk was impressed by the clothes and manner of Jimmy. Yes, there ought to be a good opening in the shoe line. He would find it a pleasant town to live in, and the people very sociable. Mr. Ralph Spencer, the phoenix that arose from Jimmy Valentine's ashes, Ashes left by the flame of a sudden and alternative attack of love remained in Elmore and prospered, and he accomplished the wish of his heart. He met Miss Annabel Adams and became more and more captivated by her charms. At the end of the year, the situation of Mr. Ralph Spencer was this. He had won the respect of the community, and he and Annabel were engaged to be married in 2 weeks. Mr. Adams, a typical plodding country banker, approved of Spencer. One Monday night, Ben Price jogged unobtrusively into Elmore. From the drugstore across the street from Spencer's shoe store, he got a good look at Ralph D. Spencer. "Going to marry the banker's daughter? Are you, Jimmy?" said Ben to himself softly. "Well, I don't know." After breakfast, quite a family party went downtown together. Mr. Adams, Annabel, Jimmy, and Annabel's married sister, with her 2 little girls, aged 5 and 9, all went inside the high carved oak railings into the banking room. Jimmy included, for Mr. Adams' future son-in-law was welcome anywhere. The Elmore Bank had just put in a new safe and vault. Mr. Adams was very proud of it and insisted on an inspection by everyone. The vault was a small one, but it had a new and patented door. It fastened with 3 solid steel bolts thrown simultaneously with a single handle and had a time clock. Mr. Adams beamingly explained its workings to Mr. Spencer, who showed a cautious but not too intelligent interest. The 2 children, May and Agatha, were delighted by the shining metal and funny clock and knobs. While they were thus engaged, Ben Price sauntered in and leaned on his elbow, looking casually inside between the railings. Suddenly there was a scream or two from the women and a commotion. Unpuzzled by the elders, May, the 9-year-old girl, in a spirit of play, bade shut Agatha in the vault. She had then shot the bolts and turned the knob of the combination as she had seen Mr. Adams do. The old banker sprang to the handle and tugged at it for a moment. "The door can't be opened," he groaned. "The clock hasn't been opened, nor the combination set." Agatha's mother screamed again hysterically. "Hush," said Mr. Adams, raising his trembling hand. "All be quiet for a moment. Agatha," he called as loudly as he could. "Listen to me." During the following silence, they could just hear the faint sound of the child wildly shrieking in the dark vault in a panic of terror. "My precious darling," wailed the mother. "She will die of fright. Open the door. Oh, break it open. Can't you do something?" "There isn't a man nearer than Little Rock who can open this door," said Mr. Adams in a shaky voice. Agatha's mother, frantic now, beat the door of the vault with her hands. Annabel turned to Jimmy, her large eyes full of anguish, but not yet despairing. To a woman, nothing seems quite impossible to the power of the man she worships. "Can't you do something? Ralph, try, won't you?" He looked at her with a soft, queer smile on his lips and in his keen eyes. "Annabel," he said, "give me that rose you are wearing, will you?" Hardly believing that she heard him right, she unpinned the bud from the bosom of her dress and placed it in his hand. Jimmy stuffed it into his vest pocket, threw off his coat, and pulled up his shirt sleeves. With that act, Ralph D. Spencer passed away, and Jimmy Valentine took his place. "Get away from the door, all of you," he commanded shortly. He set his suitcase on the table, opened it out flat. From that time on, he seemed to be unconscious of the presence of anyone else. He let out the shining, queer implements swiftly and orderly, whistling swiftly to himself, as he always did when at work. In a deep silence and immovable, the others watched him as if under a spell. In a minute, Jimmy's pedal was beating smoothly into the steel door. In 10 minutes, breaking his own burglarious record, he threw back the bolts and opened the door. Agatha almost collapsed, but safe was gathered into her mother's arms. Jimmy Valentine put on his coat and walked outside the railings towards the front door. He thought he heard a faraway voice that he once knew called Ralph, but he never hesitated. At the door, a big man stood somewhat in his way. "Hello, Ben," said Jimmy, still with a strange smile. "Got around at last, have you? Well, let's go. I don't know that it makes much difference now." And then Ben Price acted rather strangely. "Guess we're mistaken, Mr. Spencer," he said. "Don't believe I recognize you. Your buggy's waiting for you, ain't it?" And Ben Price turned and strolled down the street. Please like, share and comment on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.